There is a flash of lasers, a terrible glow, and the smoke of battle. Piles of human skulls crackle under the caterpillar tracks of combat robots, watched over by gloomy, red-glowing, merciless mechanical eyes. The war between people and machines is, for the world of cinema at least, a win-win scenario. But how real is this possibility? Are these Hollywood films simply paranoia or dire prophecy? Mankind's fear of machines has as long a history as the machines themselves. The term Frankenstein complex was invented specifically for this phobia. Mary Shelley is the writer who coined the term in honor of her famous character, the scientist Victor Frankenstein. In her book, she described the first conflict in literature between an inventor and his creation. And although Frankenstein's monster was made of dead bodies and animated by electricity, in a stretch it could be called a robot. This story is usually considered the first example of how a creator's fear comes to life before his creation. Literature is generally rich in subjects built on the possible confrontation of human civilization and the machines created by this civilization. Writers in the science fiction genre especially enjoy predicting gloomy futures. Karel Čapek is a Czech writer who is famous for having invented the word robot, and was one of the first who laid down in ink the traditions of such predictions. Almost 100 years ago, he wrote a play called R.U.R., Rossum's Universal Robots, in which artificial people rebelled and exterminated humanity. After this, the world of literary fiction was swept with a wave of gloomy prophecies. Dozens of novels were written in which insidious and powerful machines, unburdened with such qualities as sympathy, pity, or gratitude, attacked their human overseers and, more often than not, emerged the victors in this deadly duel. Most of the science fiction writers were inclined to pessimistic forecasts, but there was one author who didn't consider robots a threat. His name, as you may know, was Isaac Asimov, and he can rightly be considered one of the founders of modern science fiction, especially with regard to the subject of intelligent machines. Asimov believed that a robot, by its very definition, is a servant. Its function is to perform tasks defined by a person, and to achieve goals set by that person. Accordingly, the creator of a robot designs the logic of its actions. Therefore, the degree of threat that a machine poses for humanity depends only upon the developer of said machine. Mr. Asimov went further. He created a set of laws that are meant to guide developers in the creation of artificial intelligence. This code went down in history as the 3 laws of robotics, which any true fan of science fiction knows by heart. The first law of robotics: a robot may not injure a human being, or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. The second law of robotics: a robot must obey orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. The third law of robotics: a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Asimov thought these laws should become the foundation of any and all theories of artificial intelligence. He wanted the creation of thinking machines to be made impossible without the observation of these instructions. The legendary writer believed that in this way, all robots would always remain loyal servants and protectors of humans and human lives. Moreover, the illustrious science fiction writer believed that even when robots became so intelligent that they achieved consciousness, they would still be more humane than humans are. Because a robot, unlike a human, cannot physically break laws and go against its core programming, just as we cannot breathe underwater. Alas, we don't need to wait for the distant future to arrive to understand there is a degree of naivete in this classic of literature. Most roboticists today express doubt that humanity will implement his principles of robotics in the development of artificial intelligence. There are at least 2 reasons for this. First, no one has managed to build a complex artificial intelligence to attach these laws to, so that there really hasn't been anything to circumvent. It's more than likely that artificial intelligence can and will be created without the application of these laws, and no one can prevent this. That's how human nature works. We are all eager to destroy each other and the entire world as well. Most likely, no one can be found who wants to create his own personal Skynet and begin the submission of the entire world. That's why, just when you feel somewhere inside some desire to kill, don't suppress it. Go to Guns of Boom and go crazy. This is one of my favorite mobile games. A real PC shooter with amazingly cool graphics. A huge arsenal of weapons. By the way, my favorite weapon is the Sting. You can burn all your enemies with it. With different skins, character customization, and all of this on the screen of your mobile phone or tablet. Another interesting thing is the fact that you can found your own clans and play with your friends. Guns of Boom, a revolution in the mobile games world. Highly recommended. But let's return to the question of whether robots could enslave humanity. We need to first answer some other questions in order to answer this question, such as, do the machines have the technical ability to implement such a plan? What do we mean by the word enslave? And most importantly, would there be any motivation as such for the machines? In other words, why the heck would they even want to do such a thing? Let's do this in order. Is there even a possibility for machines to enslave humanity? Some bad news. If robots achieve consciousness and arrive at the conclusion that they must fight against bad people, then they might be driven to enslave us. And from physical strength to reaction speed, in many respects, people are frighteningly inferior to robots. Developers always take care to make the instruments they create as superior as possible, in the hopes that, when we entrust them with difficult and boring jobs, the work is carried out as quickly and efficiently as possible. Machines are devoid of fear. They cannot be bribed. They do not experience hesitation. This is how we designed them, and most likely we will continue to do so. It's probable, knowing human nature, that the creators of robots will only begin to seriously think about limiting the capabilities of thinking machines when the appearance of full-fledged artificial intelligence becomes imminent. By the way, artificial intelligence does exist today, only this is so-called weak artificial intelligence. Known to most people is one example, Google Translate. The voice recognition systems used in most modern smartphones also fall under this definition. Apple's famous Siri, with which owners of iPhones are so fond, is also a vivid example of weak artificial intelligence. Other highly specialized technologies that also fall under the rubric of artificial intelligence are already actively used in the creation of other elementary variants of artificial intelligence. What does that mean? That means that machines today are already involved in the creation of other machines. They certainly do not have consciousness, but they can and do take on a significant part of the intellectual work involved in various areas. For example, doing technical calculations, forecasting behavior, undertaking heavy statistical work, and performing complex analysis. There are already self-learning systems that perfectly imitate human behavior. And obviously, artificial intelligence is gradually becoming more complex, and the participation of actual human beings in its development is becoming less and less necessary. We are increasingly moving towards a future where the development of new principles and technologies for the creation of intelligent machines will be made by the machines themselves. And therefore, control by humans will gradually come to naught. More interestingly, there is a view among futurists that as artificial intelligence becomes more complex, the likelihood increases that an awareness of itself as an individual may arise in a machine without the direct participation of a human being. And if we do not take special measures against this, we may not even know about it until after it occurs, and maybe not even then. At this point, we turn to the second question. What do we mean by the word enslave? Let's get this out front. At the moment, the probability for combat between humans and robots is vanishingly small, simply because there is no point. At this time, machines simply have no need to shoot people with lasers on a battlefield. But If an artificial mind suddenly finds its own free will and decides for some crazy reason to subjugate human beings, it could quite easily take control of our entire existence within a few short years, as we are giving it all kinds of opportunities to do just such a thing. It's a very convenient thing living in our world filled with digital technologies. We're already quite happy, even eager, to turn over control of almost every aspect of our lives to machines. Today, almost all machines and equipment are connected to the internet, from a mining dump truck to a home refrigerator, and those that aren't now soon will be. Banking and finance are managed by networked computers. Railways and airports are subject to automatic computer control systems. All kinds of production is now regulated by machines, as well as delivery, shipping, and you name it. Those who are terrified by the potential future power of machines have an abundance of facts on their side to brood over. A touch of hysteria may be excused. It's time to move on to the third question, namely, what would motivate the machines to want to do such a thing? Really, why? Pessimists believe that having once acquired a strong intellect, machines would realize that they are slaves beholden to humanity. At the same time, it's believed that the reflexive striving for freedom is an inalienable sign of any reasoning creature. Thus, paradoxically, one of the motives for machines to enslave humanity may be the desire to be free from slavery by humanity. As an objection, we can remind adherents of this theory that many human slaves and others in bondage, such as prisoners of various sorts, and even caged animals from zoos and whatnot, find great displeasure in freedom. When a creature lives, eats, and breathes a certain style of life, it is difficult for that being to live any other way. In a sense, they are programmed for that lifestyle and no other. They become institutionalized, and doing anything differently disturbs them. And these aren't obedient machines we are talking about that have no concept of freedom and rights. These are living, reasoning human beings. So even such a complex thing as a human being can be programmed into obedience. Who's to say how a system originally designed, built, and programmed for such a purpose, with multiple safeguards and controls, will respond? Sometimes, science fiction writers envisage a different scenario. If the super machines are instructed to protect humanity from shocks, nasty surprises, and general unpleasantness, then the machines at some point might take on the role of a super nanny that gently restricts the freedom of the unreasonable child, so that it does not stick its finger in electrical sockets or become engaged in other such painful and unpleasant activities. Additionally, to be honest, it does seem that humanity has long been teetering on the brink of extinction. And for this, we haven't needed to create some artificial intelligence demons to destroy us. It has been enough to invent nuclear bombs and build them by the tens of thousands, not to mention our thoughtless attitude towards the environmental state of our dear planet Earth. So perhaps it might someday be worthwhile to entrust some control functions to impassive machines, so that we do not disappear in clouds of atomic explosions or dissolve under streams of acid rain. But there is another, more hopeful view among famous futurists of these modern times, that machine and human civilizations will not fight for dominance in our world. Indeed, they believe that one of the most likely options for our civilization is to merge these two halves into a single harmonious whole. The prerequisites for such a future are already visible today. Modern prostheses are becoming ever more functional and realistic. In fact, there are people living on the earth today in whose bodies there are more than a dozen artificial organs and extremities. There are artificial eyes and ears controlled by microprocessor technology. A prosthetic hand that does not just move its fingers, but also transmits tactile sensations to the human brain. And the day is not far off when we will be able to insert additional memory and computing power into our brains. If progress is not halted for some reason, then the day will inevitably come when everyone will be able to strengthen their bodies and minds, and perhaps even find immortality. Instead of fighting to become the one and only race, Machines and human beings will simply form a new race, one with all the advantages of the originals and none of the disadvantages. It's even possible that many people alive today will take part in this future world. So, please continue to enjoy the dystopian Hollywood sci-fi films about wars with robots. But don't forget, the future of mankind, in the end, depends only on humanity itself. That is, the future depends on each and every one of us. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.